Dumelang guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Renee Stake, also go by the name Reni. This week we are finally posting our very first DIY on our channel. I'm all the way excited and all the way happy about this. The thing that inspired this DIY is because in my living room I have this wall. It's not that wide, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. It's like this blank canvas that I have. It's between two windows. So I wanted to add a bit of art to the wall, but I didn't want it to be too intense because the wall is not that wide. So I went on Pinterest and I just went, through a few ideas, and I started seeing these pop-ups of like gallery wall hangings, and I fell in love with them completely. And I was on YouTube, I saw Exo McKenna create one of her own. Mine basically is similar to hers, but apparently she doesn't have it on her YouTube channel anymore, but that's okay, that's fine. I took what I could from her video and I completely loved it, although I spun it around and I created it to my liking and how I wanted my things to be. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let us get into this DIY.
So as you can see, this is the living room wall that I was talking about. It's just a blank canvas, and we will be working on our gallery wall hanging just so we can fit it into this place so it won't look as plain and blank as it does right now. So these are the things that you will need to complete this project. So I started off with spray painting my wooden dowel black using black satin spray paint by Rust-Oleum, which I bought from builders. So since the wooden dowel was too long, I went right ahead and I cut it down to size so it can fit perfectly on the wall. Right after I cut the wooden dowel, I was left with rough edges, so I went right ahead and I got sandpaper and I sanded down the edges so I can smoothen them out. Now to add more detail to this wooden dowel, I got this metallic craft paint from the craft store. I got a measuring tape and I started marking down where I'm going to place my tape. Now that we've marked where we're going to place our tape, we're going to tape off the wooden dowel. Honestly, you can use any kind of tape as long as the paint does not seep through it, just so we can have a nice clean finish at the end when we remove the tape. I started painting the ends of the wooden dowel because that's the only place where I wanted to apply this metallic paint, just to add a nice little detailing to the ends of the wooden dowel. And I realized that more is better than less in this case. And sure, there were a bit of brush strokes on it and I tried to get rid of them, but I didn't know how to, but I just kept on going. This was the end result. Although it had brush strokes, I think it added nice texture.
The pictures were rectangular obviously, and they weren't the same. Some were shot landscape, some were more portrait, so they weren't depicting this like same kind of vibe. What I did was, since the wall wasn't even that wide, I needed to downscale my pictures.
Using a 9x9cm cardboard, I will be using it as a stencil to mark down the pictures where I want to cut them. So I'm using a clutch pencil here to make the markings on the picture. I used it in front because I realized that it would scrape off a part of the picture and leaving a white line on the picture. And I'm about to show it to you right now. This is what it looks like. Now that I know where to cut my picture, I'm going to use my scissor to cut it to size. And I basically did this over and over again with all the pictures that I had. Okay, so now this is what you'll need to work on the clay. We'll be using air drying clay. So what I did was I rolled the clay down as thin as possible so that I don't have it heavy on the wall. And then I DIY'd my own stencils, basically my own cookie cutters, you can say. You guys can use anything. You can freehand this, you can use cookie cutters, or you can DIY your stencils like I did from the excess paper that you have left from the pictures that you have cut out. I went right ahead and I created a triangle, a square, and a diamond. And then I went in with this, it's not a knife, I forgot what it's called. But honestly, if you're using a cookie cutter, I'm pretty much sure you should get clean cuts. I was just ensuring that I have cut through the clay all the way through so that when I remove the excess, I actually have nice clean shapes and a nice finish on the shapes that are gonna be left. Granted, if you are creating shapes like I am, I don't know why I went with shapes, but anyways, guess that's what we went with. I then decided to use a straw to punch holes in the clay. I ensured that I punched 2 holes on each shape. You guys will realize the importance of this later.
When it came to this clay, I decided that I was going to paint it light grayish. I don't want it to be too light gray because my walls are basically a white with an undertone of gray, so I don't want it to just blend in with the walls. I wanted a gray that was light but will still stick out. I went to the store, I couldn't find the gray that I wanted, and I was afraid that the ones that were there would just blend in, so I figured why not create my own gray. So I went ahead and I bought a dark gray and I bought an off-whitish acrylic paint and decided that I'm going to mix my own colors up until I get the gray that I want.
So I poured the gray paint already in this plastic, I don't know what it is. Actually, I was eating croissants earlier on and I went right ahead and decided to use the plastic holder thingy as, you know, my paint holder. I don't even know if I'm making sense. And I went right ahead and mixed the white in, but I just couldn't seem to get the gray that I wanted. But however, I did like the pattern that you see right here, and I hope that I could actually execute it onto the clay, and it didn't work out the way I thought it would. So I then figured out why not just take the white and spread it all over in a messy kind of way on top of the clay, and hopefully I'll get the pattern that I actually wanted. And I didn't, so I went right ahead and I got a hairdryer and I decided let's be more creative and more artistic in that sense. And we're just going to apply as much paint as possible, sprinkling it all over, and then we're just gonna hairdry it, you know, and create patterns from the hairdryer. And I ensured that I had the hairdryer on full blast, but I left it on cold. So just make sure that you do that because I don't know what would happen if I had the heat on. So what I did was I started creating different shades of grays and I started, you know, sprinkling and spreading or whatever you want to call it on top of the clay. Basically, I just went wild. I honestly feel I've lost control at this point in time, and I was just creating different shades of gray and just going over the clay. And as you can see, it looks messy, it looks weird, but anyways, I just didn't care. I was just I was just trying to save this whole thing, and it was just going downhill as expected. And I would hair dry it down and create different patterns.
After painting my clay, I'm a bit skeptical. I feel like I went crazy. I tried to save it and be more artistic, and I feel like I may have went overboard. So I don't know. I'm contemplating, you know, redoing this, but yet again I'm thinking maybe it hasn't failed yet. Let me just wait it out and see until the end. I might love it.
When I was done cutting them down to size, I decided to also work out a template on how I'd be hanging them off the wall. Leaving excess wool at the top, you guys will realize how important this is later. I decided to hot glue my pictures onto this black wool. Initially, I burnt myself because the pictures were facing upwards, so I decided to make the pictures face down and use a hot glue gun from the top. That way I will not burn myself and I would ensure safety. And well, we live and we learn, I guess. I decided to measure my pictures. I wanted them to be 6 centimeters apart, and I went right ahead and measured the distance. You guys can choose how far apart you want your pictures to be or how close you want them to be. I just opted for 6 centimeters. And another pro tip, guys, while you're gluing your pictures down to your wall, ensure that your pictures are all facing the same direction. You do not want your pictures to be facing different kinds of directions and having one picture being upside down and the one being upright. So just ensure that they're all facing the same direction. And I did this with most of my pictures, and honestly this process was a bit tedious, but nonetheless we got through it and the results were worth it all. This is the end results now that I have 5 beautiful rows of pictures that I've hot glued. And yeah, this is what it looked like.
Decided to DIY my own tassels. Guys, honestly, this is a very simple thing to do. It's a no-brainer creating tassels. Guys, you can do it within less than 2 minutes, less than a minute actually. It's simple, it's very easy, and guys, you can add tassels to anything: curtains, pillows, wall hangings. Like, you can add tassels to a lot of things, and I thought it adds a bit of fun as well to the wall hanging. So yeah, now I'm just gonna show you guys how I created my wall tassels and me adding them onto my wall hanging.
You will need wool, cardboard, and scissors to create these tassels. So what I did was I got my wool and I put it at the bottom of my cardboard. Honestly, the size of your tassels is determined by the size of your cardboard. I think mine is 4 centimeters if I'm not mistaken. So I twisted the wool around the cardboard about 20 times, and that's the amount of thickness that I wanted for myself. If you want it thicker, you can go over it more than that. And then I cut the wool at the bottom, and what I did was I got myself an extra strand of wool. You can eyeball this, you can do it the way that I'm doing it. I just wanted it to be extra lengthy because it matters when I'm going to hot glue the tassel to the clay, which you will see a whole lot later. So what I did was I put the wool right underneath the whole stack of wool that's on the cardboard, and I pulled it on the one side. And then I'm going to pull the wool all the way to the top, and I'm going to double knot it, ensuring that I secure it. And before I double knot it, I'm going to make sure that the wool is equidistant from the one side to the other. They are equally long, and the one strand is not longer than the other. So as you can see here, I am double knotting it. This way I'm securing the wool. now that I have that in place, I'm going to take another wool, strand of wool that I'm going to cut to size. Honestly, this one doesn't really matter how long you have it, as long as you don't have it shorter than how you want your tassel to be, because then you might have to cut it off when you have excess of it and it's looking shorter than the length of your tassel. So I'm going to remove the rest of the wool from the cardboard. As hard as it is, as you can see, it takes a bit of effort depending on how tight you make it, honestly. So then I took a third of all of that wool and I tied it down with the extra strand of wool that I have cut out. And then as you can see, I'm going to knot it on the one side as tight as I possibly can. Obviously, you can maneuver it to wherever you want it to be until you're satisfied. Then you can knot it as tight as possible. You can go right ahead and double knot it from the get-go. On my side, I decided to flip it over to the opposite side and knot it one time, and then I'm going to flip it over back on the original side and double knot it, only because I'm just that person that decided to create this process and make it a whole lot more tedious than it needs to be. But honestly, if you guys double knot it just from the get-go, you will not have any issues. I just decided to, I don't know, secure this for life, I guess. Okay, now that we've double knotted it, you have that extra wool at the end, which you shouldn't worry about, as we are cutting the loops now. We're actually going to trim that extra amount of wool out. So you're going to go right ahead and cut the loops right at the end, as I am doing right now, and go through it, make sure that all the loops are cut. And as you can see, this is what you have, a tassel. But however, they're not all up to size, so I'm going to trim it down and ensure that they're all the same length. And that's how you create a tassel, guys. Easy as that. It's very simple. Honestly, you can get this done in less than a minute. Now this is why we needed the strand to be a bit lengthy, so that we can hot glue it behind the clay. As you can see also, this is why we had to puncture those holes, because we had to put the black wool through it, and now we actually putting the tassels through it. So that's the importance of having those two holes. And as you can see at the back, it's a bit messy, but in front, don't worry, it looks clean, it looks well finished. Now that we've created our row of pictures, I'm going to measure and mark down how far apart I want my pictures to hang from each other. This will make the process of hot gluing the wool onto the wooden dowel a whole lot easier. Now this is why we left excess wool at the top of our pictures, because we needed to attach our pictures to the wooden dowel. So what I did was I measured how far apart I wanted the wooden dowel to be from the very first picture, and I went with 4 centimeters. And as soon as I was done measuring, I went right ahead and I put a very good generous amount of hot glue onto the wooden dowel, and I started twisting this black wool on the wooden dowel, ensuring that each time I wind the wool on the wooden dowel, it actually touches the hot glue. That way I'm securing the wool onto the dowel. And honestly, you can keep doing this, and if you run out of hot glue, you can just go right ahead and reapply it, or you can just go right ahead and cut the excess wool. Whichever way works for you, as long as you are satisfied and you feel that your pictures will be secure. I'll be using this heavy duty tape that I got from Mr. Price Home to secure this wooden dowel on my wall. So what I did was I used a spirit leveler to ensure that I hang this wooden dowel as straight as possible on my wall, because honestly guys, it was going to irritate me if it was a bit off. It would irritate anybody. And right after I ensured that it was straight, I pressed down the wooden dowel against my wall with as much force as possible until it was actually secure. And as soon as I had secured it on my wall, I ensured that the pictures were actually facing the right direction.
guys, that was our DIY. Honestly, I love how the end results look. I really am happy about how everything ended up looking like, and I'm like, it's aesthetically pleasing, it's beautiful, like it's you know, it plays off very well. It's a nice way to actually personalize my space with the people that I love and everything like that. And honestly, I had my doubts about the clay and how I've like painted it, but honestly it ended up tying everything together, and it ended up tying the tassel at the bottom. Like it ended up a very like it ended up looking very great, and I'm super excited about the results. I'm super happy, and if you guys completely agree that this ended up well, please give it a thumbs up. And if you guys loved this, also give it a thumbs up. If this gave you guys a bright idea and a bright concept, and if you guys would add anything to your gallery wall hanging, leave a comment down below. If you guys have a certain way that you would like me to conduct my tutorials, I don't mind any constructive criticism. Just be kind, because well, I'm fragile. So yeah, leave a comment down below, guys. If you're new to my channel, do not be afraid. This is a safe space, safe zone. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you can get notified each and every single time that I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, guys, look at what I'm sitting on. I reupholstered this frame, and honestly I am not done, and you guys are going to get to see the finished product on my channel, and you're about to see how I did all of this. This is basically just a sneak peek of what you guys are getting yourself into, so go right ahead and subscribe. And well, with that being said, and this being our very first DIY that I'm super excited about, be kind, love and light.